I guess that's a boomer thing to say, though. Don't break it if you're going to change it. No, don't change it if you're going to break it. Yeah.
They break it deliberately, so you have to buy the new one.
Yeah, there we go. No, I'm not doing that now. Um, I guess let's bound right on into this then. So,
Yep, do it.
hello, welcome to Time Enough Podcast. It's where we roll through episodes of the Twilight Zone and beyond. This is Matt here. Over there's Luke. You got something to say?
Oh, Luke is here.
It's more of a song, really. Definitely not silent, as in the
Hmm.
silence. I thought maybe you'd just be like silent through the entire podcast, and it'd be really frustrating.
You could have just not had a guest and pretended that was happening. That would have been a good gag for this one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Except it's not the April Fool's one. It also has the benefit of being a pretty good episode, so I wouldn't want to do it that dirty.
Hmm. Well, no, I guess I'll. It's the gig is up now. I was going to do that when you got me to read the synopsis.
Oh, damn. Okay, sorry for calling your shot too early.
Yeah.
I have some non-silent trivia though, so this will be rebelling against this particular episode with lots of talking. Then, so
It's pretty hard to do a podcast in silence.
yeah,
I mean, there's a lot of dudes who should.
yeah.
We may be among them, but
For the trivia on this, the original air date was April 28th, 1961. The script was by Rod Serling, but is heavily influenced by Anton Chekhov's short story, The Bet. Boris Segal was a Ukrainian immigrant who did multiple episodes in The Zone. He also directed episodes of Alfred Hitchcock Presents, The Man from U.N.C.L.E., and another run with Serling in Night Gallery. Later on, he helmed The Omega Man, featuring Charlton Heston. Grumpy old man Archie Taylor was played by François Ton. How do you say Tone with like in a French way?
Tonau.
No, Tone. It's I would be
All
like
right,
tone, but I know that's
it
wrong.
might be like Tony or Tone.
Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah. François Tony. I'm not
Mm.
quite sure. Sorry, didn't never took French. Anyway, he had a long career, first on Broadway, spent the 30s as an MGM contract player, and stinted around with some other studios like Universal in the 1940s. He was nominated for a Best Actor Oscar for Mutiny on the Bounty, where his co stars Clark Gable and Charles Lawton served as competition. This conflict of interest led to the creation of the Best Supporting Actor category.
Hmm.
Liam Sullivan played that loud new money, Jamie Tennyson. His 60s TV career included spots on Adam 12, Combat, and alongside fellow Zoner William Shatner on Gunsmoke. They'd appeared together on screen again in the Star Trek episode Plato's Stepchildren.
Oh yeah, he's got the look to be one of them.
Yeah, one of the telepathic,
Yeah, yeah. I
saw it
slightly
dudes.
recognized his face, and that is an episode I've seen once or twice. So
That's actually one I probably pass over a lot when I'm watching Trek,
is
but
that the one that famously has the first?
Kiss,
Yeah,
interracial kiss, I believe. Yes, it
even
is.
though it's kind of not because they were like live ones.
Yeah, and it commits the sin of not being a very good Star Trek episode. So
It's a very like original series episode, right? It's like pretty definitive of what most of them were actually like,
you're very season
rather than
three,
sort of the 10 good ones that people like to bring up.
right? No, season three. It's weird. It's good weird or it's bad weird usually in season three. So, uh, Luke, having already busted your game, here's a prologue for you to read.
But we recently did a in an episode of Monster Mash, my Monster Hunter podcast, the talk about the whole like drying your teeth to do Rod Serling thing came up.
Mm.
And then the joke somehow became that Scottish people have famously wet teeth, and that's why they can't do the voice. So here we go. Oh, hi. The note that this man is carrying across our room is in the form of a proposed wager, but it's the kind of wager that comes without precedent. It stands alone in the annals of bet making as the strangest game of chance ever offered by one man to another. In just a moment, we'll see the terms of the wager and what young Mr. Tennyson does about it. And in the process, we'll witness what all parties spin a wheel of chance in a very bizarre casino called The Twilight Zone.
All right. Thanks, Scotty. I felt like
Cannot
this.
read it, Captain. I don't have the power. I cut my nerves.
But didn't go for the Connery, which I guess everyone has decided now that's not a Scottish accent. It's just
No, it's just a
Connery.
Connery accent.
So this episode is what, like a bunch of rich people problems that they make for themselves, I guess.
Yeah. Well, this is like one of the episodes that's the least um
There's no supernatural element.
yeah, right?
Right.
Because I'm not familiar with Alfred Hitchcock Presents, but I'm guessing this is the sort of stories they do on there, right? Where
Yeah,
it's
this
just
is
little vignettes of human drama.
I mean, I think that's why maybe the Twilight Zone stands out as an anthology series. I mean, Alfred Hitchcock's great too, but yeah, that one tends to be more like psychological thrillers and
Hmm.
horror, whereas you got the Outer Limits, which has like Alien every week, right? So Twilight Zone kind of sits between those poles, I guess. And but yeah, this episode is definitely having a stroll down Alfred Hitchcock lane.
Hmm.
Just as a quick aside, I should notice that my note that my New Year's family viewing was the Bates Hotel TV series, so more wholesome family entertainment in the Comage's house.
Is that any good?
It's not bad. I mean, it's I guess it's kind of like the Smallville to Psycho,
Okay.
if that makes any sense. Great, it's got really Verma Farmiga. Is that how you say her name? She's really good in it. Freddie Highmore, Charlie from the Chocolate Factory is Norman Bates, so
Hmm.
that's fantastic. So but yeah, it's one of those. It's like modern TV where they kind of have to stretch the plot like taffy to go over like 13
Well,
episodes or
see,
whatever.
that's not modern TV. Modern TV is they actually make 6 episode seasons now.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
thinking like classic network TV where it's like we've got 23 episodes and we just got to put stuff in there.
Well, there's a at least for American TV, there is a span, which I think they're still doing to a certain extent of the 13 episode season. It's not quite a
You're
full.
thinking like it's not the Smallville kind of thing where stuff happens in the first episode and the last episode and everything's filler. It's the Netflix thing of they're stretching out what could have been a single movie over a TV show.
Right, right. That's kind of what I'm
Okay,
getting
yeah,
at.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That is a modern issue.
But yeah, that's even great shows tend to have that problem. So, in the case of us watching this, it's because they had the first season for like $3 at the rental store. But, but yeah, this is again, the silence is the time when you're going to find yourself talking like a little bit more Hitchcock, right? Because it does have that vibe. Um,
Yeah,
how
but that's
long?
cool because like I was waiting to see like what's the twist going to be, and then the twist works because there's no supernatural, there's nothing wacky. It's all even quite not predictable, but like it makes sense.
Right.
It's all character stuff. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
I like the idea that there's not always going to be a supernatural thing.
right.
Is
There
that
are a few more that do that, but yeah, yeah. Typically there is, but I mean, this is
it's
just like
like the
so whack.
X-Files creators talking about how originally their plan was that like it was going to be like 50-50 whether the thing they investigated was even real.
Mm.
And then in the end there's only like one episode where it turns out it's not real.
Yeah, they should have bared down on that a little hard. That
Because
would have been
yeah, it keeps
fun.
you guessing a bit more, right? Keeps it interesting.
Gives Scully a little bit more, fuel in her tank as the skeptic
Hmm.
as well, which I guess she didn't. Well, she famously just lost all of that eventually, didn't she?
Well, you can't not, right?
Once you're abducted by aliens and stuff, I guess you have to start thinking maybe there's aliens. How long do you think you can stay silent?
Well, that's the thing because he's like offering him any, you know, um distractions or whatever. In my modern apartment, a year easy. Like I want a year if someone locks me in a room to be silent. Think of all the books I could read and games I could finish and writing I could do.
Well, that actually that probably rubs a lot of people the wrong way from the back in 2020, but
That's true. That's true.
they didn't
Yeah,
like being silent that way.
I'm kind of the wrong guest for this one because me and you are the two guys who did not experience lockdown because we live in
Yeah,
the mountains of rural Japan.
but I mean, I definitely like for some of our holidays. I when I have the chance, I'll bump up to the family house. I'm making music, so I guess I'm singing some, but otherwise, I'm probably staying relatively silent. Does singing count? Well, in this case,
In this
of
case, it would
course, you know,
definitely count. Yeah.
yeah, in this case, it definitely counts. But yeah, I had the thought a few weeks ago. Well, we were doing the cleaning
Hmm.
at our work, right? And I was thinking it would be fantastic, you know, like to sing along while you're cleaning, but do it just like full throated Broadway style.
And you didn't just do it?
Nah, and I didn't have a. I can't do a
You'd have
Broadway
to
voice.
audition.
That's for sure. Yeah,
I don't think I can know any Broadway songs well enough.
that's kind of where I'm coming from. But yeah, I was just thinking, you know, or you just go into a giant whistle while you work, but you know, kind of like loud and full blooded. See how long it takes for someone to say something to you. They might not. I don't know. It's kind of confusing sometimes in Japan.
What we'll have to do next time is we'll have to pre-arrange that all of us foreign teachers are going to do it, and then the Japanese teachers just won't know how to react.
um, what amount of money would get you to go along with this kind of bet?
I
I mean,
mean, if we're
obviously
talking
there
about
was no money,
actually
but
severing my nerve, then it would be a lot more than 500 grand.
well, that was not part of the bet. That he took
No,
his own initiative
but
there.
if I thought that was necessary, then it would have to be, life-changing sums.
Is it necessary? Can you rock
No,
it?
I think I could do it because,
Okay.
yeah, as you know, there's very little things I don't think I could do.
Well, I could do anything because I'm me.
Yeah, I'm the boy. Um, I don't know, cool million.
Okay, so you're just doubling that, right? I
Well,
mean,
actually, yeah,
this.
to be honest, 500 grand. If it was, yeah, if I'm assuming that I can actually do it on my own steam, yeah, I do
Mm,
it for 500 grand.
okay, and then if we have to add in the severing, you're gonna go bump it up to 1 million. Just
Dude,
one
it
million?
would be more than that.
More than that. Okay. What are your vocal cords worth?
I don't
I
know.
guess you. I don't know. I guess you can't
What was the
reverse that
budget of the first
procedure.
Transformers film? 150 million.
Oh, I was thinking of the animated one, but yeah.
No, that's like $5 and a packet of gum, I think.
That's the charm of it. Um, we like I said, we started off with the rich people. Well, the double twist, of course, is that the dude doesn't even have the money.
But yeah, like
So
neither of them are like really rich, right? They're both just trying to. I guess that's the interesting element of this story is that it looks like, oh, here's a story about rich people being douchebags, but it's about people who both of them are people who want to maintain the appearance of being rich but are not.
I also had the perception that not Tennyson, what's the other guy?
Archie.
Yeah, Archie. Like I guess he was kind of old money, where Tennyson was kind of new money.
Well, because Tennyson was complaining about this other guy being new money. The first
Yeah.
scene we see him in, where he won't shut up. So he is old money, but he's already blown his inheritance basically.
Right. Okay.
Whereas the older guy is old money and it's just run dry. But he's got presumably he's got the house and everything, so he doesn't really need that much money anymore. He's just
I mean, I guess
can live
you
comfortably.
need to have some problem if you're going to get aggressive enough to make the bet and dumb enough to take the bet. You're probably not at well, Tennyson, of course, it's clear he's not at his best because he's already blown his load. So,
Hmm.
you know, there's a certain amount of like chest beating here, I guess.
Right. I mean, the real villain of the police is the lawyer who basically reassures. Um, he tells Tennyson like, no, no, he's good for it, but knows full well that he's not.
Yeah, I just heard about Walt Disney's polo injury. Have you ever heard of this? Just for rich,
No.
this is like for crazy rich people stuff. Like
Yeah.
after he'd been successful and was getting stressed out for some reason, his doctors were like take up a sport, so he took up polo, which is kind of an insane sport when you like actually stop to think about it. And it's rich people. You know,
Oh
just
yeah, that's a
one
rich people
player's
sport right there.
you got to have a horse and a backup horse and you know, he got this injury, and then eventually, as he got older, it got worse. And at 5 every day, he'd have his one of his nurse give him like a back rub while he drank like a glass of scotch or something, right? So, and
Yeah.
she suggested he go to check out the trains. He saw that, and then Disneyland started. So that's kind of maybe if he didn't have the injury, Disneyland wouldn't have existed. But the weirder thing is, before that, in the year before his injury, he had played in games where two different people died in two different games. Like in the
Gnarly.
30s, I was just like, oh, well, yep, polo, it's a dangerous sport. You know, you think you take the hint at that, but this. to me, this kind of bet makes me think of that, where you keep playing polo even though you've watched two people die in the past year.
Well, yeah, when you're living at that level of rich and just everything is meaningless, right?
Yeah.
So that's why they do shit like that, or they go and like do free running on top of skyscrapers and plummet to their death, or they hunt men for sport on an island,
Yeah, that was
or
the
they
thing.
do, you know, pedophilic sexual stuff because they can't get a thrill from what normal people get a thrill from anymore.
So these guys at least get their thrills in a different way, I guess. That's good.
Yeah, at least he's down in Archie's basement. He's not on Epstein's island.
What did you think of the design of the basement, their little space to
It's pretty
observe
nice,
him?
pretty plush.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
Because
happy in there for a while.
yeah, yeah. How about with a 1961 tech? There's no switch in there. Can you handle it?
And see that if I could get a typewriter or something, then yeah, because I do have a lot of writing I need to be doing.
Yeah.
There's a
Would you
couple of times I've thought like, you know what would be the best thing that could happen in my life? If
what's
I
that?
went down for a couple of years, I'd get ripped. I'd catch up on my writing. Maybe I'd learn a language in there.
And the clink.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think I just fell asleep last night. I did not mention in the trivia. Of course, we have Jonathan Harris back, who was Dr. Smith on Lost in Space. He's the guy. Oh, I did write it. I just didn't. It just was under my screen. Okay. Oops. But he's kind of like the voice of reason in this one, right? He's George Alfred, the guy that's
The
kind of,
lawyer.
yeah, yeah. He's just
Yeah, but
like,
he doesn't let Tennyson know that he thinks he hasn't got the other guy hasn't got the money. That's what I was saying.
but he is consulting
Yeah.
Archie and just like, dude, which makes it, that's where the interest comes in. It's Archie is like getting more and more desperately trying to get him to
Mm.
like kind of settle before trial, so to speak.
Alternative twist could have been that he's just got the wife locked up in another room. That's why she wasn't. If they'd like played up the his wife's not visiting him and he's going crazy about it angle.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I mean that was just part of his desperation, though, right? He's
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
yeah.
like
I know.
breaking, but yeah, yeah. That would have been weird if they're keeping there. I mean, maybe he didn't like his wife. I don't know.
No, I got the impression he liked it. I don't know if she liked him, but he liked her.
Right, right. Okay. Well, she clearly didn't like him. She didn't show up. So
Yeah, but he might. It might have been that he was actually not giving her the letters.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, so he's just keeping completely shut.
Mm.
Does he at least get the $5,000 offered? He should at least get that, I think.
Maybe the lads at the club had a whip round for him.
Yeah, because I'm like, he did cut his cord, so he should at least get that last settlement offer.
You know what? For me, the silence would not be the difficult part, right? It's being in that glass room and like completely unable to jerk it.
Well, I mean that the microphone should be fine with that, right?
I guess, yeah. They didn't mention cameras, and there's not always someone watching you.
Yeah, I mean it's like 3 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I would just I like to walk around, so you like to
But
walk
while
around.
you're masturbating,
Why, yes, yeah, I'm one of
I
those
find that
guys.
incredibly difficult. So fair play, mate.
It's like the George Carlin thing. It was like, imagine someone running at top speed and taking a dump. Can't be done. But yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
you haven't worked in retail and had to clean the bathrooms.
Oh my. But yeah, I was thinking like just being in the cage and not being able to stretch out your legs, all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
It'd be like a year of restless leg syndrome
But
for me.
it was a quite a big plush room, so you could do like a sort of a workout in there. I think
Yeah.
some
Yeah, I mean, you could
lunges.
do. I don't like to. I mean, you go to the gym. You like to work out. I don't like to
Yeah, but I
work
mean
out. I just like to
you could
get out.
pace at least.
Well, that's why I done when I was in the hospital. I was just like pacing up and down the hall for a while. So,
Mm.
with the medicine tree thing,
Yeah,
is that the right name for that medicine tree? That
I
seems
know what you
weird.
meant. I have no idea if that's what they're called.
Okay, because that sounds like something you'd have in like a Navajo ceremony or something. But yeah, maybe that is what they call those. I was in a hospital in Japan, so they called it something Japanese. Let's rock and do a few questions then, unless you want to make any big observations. That's
No, I mean I was wondering if it was going to go into more of a. So, do you know the Russian sleep experiment?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But go
Like
ahead and explain that.
it's just a really famous like scary story that gets shared online, like a creepy pasta. But it involves like guys being kept. It's not being kept silent. It's being kept awake for like days into weeks into months, and then they start like seeing visions of this other world and doing insane things and mutilating themselves and whatever. And I was wondering if it was going to be like he stayed so silent, he started to hear, voices from the netherworld or whatever. But yeah, like I said, it ended up being a completely non-supernatural one.
Wouldn't that be like offensive to the mute?
Well, but it could have been that like I guess it would be offensive to the deaf. I was going to say if he'd kept in like a complete noise isolation chamber or whatever.
Oh, like he can't hear either, that sort of
Yeah,
thing.
there's complete silence.
Okay, that could, yeah, that could obviously, you could get something out of that, I'm sure,
But
because
again, like, but you're right. There are people who are mute and people who are deaf. So
there's rooms that have been made, to have like not just noise counseling, but just no noise at all, like
yeah, and
silent
I've
rooms.
heard it is a pretty wild experience, and the same with like perfectly dark rooms as well.
Yeah, I guess the closest I've been is sleeping in a cave, which is
Have you
kind of weird.
done the one under Zenkoji?
Oh yeah, yeah, that's fun.
For people who don't know, me and Matt, where we live in Nagano, there's a famous Buddhist temple, and they have a thing where you go through this underground tunnel, which is meant to be like completely dark, and you just find your way by like feeling along the railings, and there's like a an idol you're supposed to find in the dark, and if you find it, you'll have happiness or what have you. I've only done it once, and some douchebag in front of me was using their phone to light it up, so completely ruined.
Yeah, as well say the time to, because I've done that several times, and usually you go, it's a somewhat busy day, and this was before phones when last time I did that, with this on a busy day, right? So I didn't have a light problem, but just the noise. There's a kid like kind of like getting upset a few steps ahead, other people are kind of giggling. But then I went like on a Wednesday morning or something when no one is there, and then when nobody was there, it's like, oh, now I get the experience. You actually need to be by yourself to do this properly.
Yeah, makes sense.
So I mean, you live like 2 blocks away, so I would recommend just go there at a time when you know nobody's going to be there, and try it without people, and then it is a pretty cool experience. So it's just like Archie has a problem here with this guy who won't shut up. To enjoy that experience, you need to be by yourself. Do
Mm.
it Yoda's cave style or something, right?
Okay, then let's go different angle. Who would you want to put in this room?
Oh, um, one. I hate to say, one reason my Japanese hasn't gotten a lot better is because it allows me to tune out most conversations.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
You're on a train, if there's a loud, I mean, the loud drunks will get annoying, but just in a restaurant or on a train, there's some chitter chatter, and you can just like you can completely tune it out. So it's almost like through our ignorance of Japanese, we get to have like a little superpower in that way.
Yeah.
um, as far as like who do I want to actually just stop talking? I mean, I could be cheeky and say someone like Donald Trump, of course, but I
That'd
mean,
be
there's
so funny.
I mean, I'm
So you,
thinking,
you try and silence him, it just makes him stronger.
well, but then he starts like dodgy social platforms, right? That nobody joins. So you got that, it's not all fun and games at Trump Tower, is it?
So what you're saying is that the little notebook Tennyson was writing in was a metaphor for like Mastodon.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a right wing one anymore.
No,
What's
no, I think
Truth Social was the one Trump started.
I think Mastodon was mostly the ones is mostly like people who just couldn't deal with Elon Musk and Twitter anymore would go to
That's why
Mastodon.
everyone moved to it. But I think it had been around for a long time.
Okay.
But I think it's more of like a Discord thing. There's like separate servers. It's not just you're all in one big
Yeah,
cesspit.
because there are, obviously like other ones that are like way dodgier. I don't remember what
Mm.
Trump called his failed
Yeah,
social
Truth
platform.
Social was Trump's one.
Oh, that okay. See, I didn't even like. I mean, what? Yeah,
I
look,
only know that because I listened to QAnon Anonymous. So
which is
do, 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 do.
which is about looking at how Q messes with people's brains,
No,
right?
I've decided to stop explaining that. I'm going to let people make their own
Oh, you
assumptions.
okay? I just felt like it'd been a while, so.
No, also they're like really big. I think most people who would listen to this know who they are at this point.
Okay, that's cool. Um, doing the questions.
Hit me
Who
with
went,
it.
who went into the Twilight Zone in this episode?
I don't know if anyone really did.
Yeah, I would go with nobody. I mean, Tennyson kind of created his own Twilight Zone, but in the same way you could create your own Twilight Zone if you know you're doing it to yourself.
You're my Twilight Zone, Matt.
I'm your Twilight Zone. So right, but that's the point. This is all personal decision making. So that's why we were talking about Alfred Hitchcock at the top of this thing. So
Hmm.
I guess we'll just give that a great big nobody then for
Yeah.
people entering the Twilight Zone. So who does it, I'll rephrase the second question a little bit and say who deserves what in this episode?
I think to a certain extent, they all kind of deserved what they got. They're all old money douchebags who don't want to do any work. Like it didn't occur to Tennyson to just go and get a job.
um yeah, I mean, yeah, when the revolution starts, these are the guys first against the wall, right?
Yeah, oh god, yeah, 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 yeah.
This is where the revolutionaries come to start putting people against the wall, I
Uh huh.
guess. So
What to do? Just chuck a grenade through the door. You know you want all of them. I guess you can sneak Alfred out first. He seemed cool.
okay. Oh yeah,
Poor old
yeah.
Alfred.
He was. I mean, even though he's a lawyer, he's kind of like the
No,
help of these
Alfred. I'm
guys.
talking about the little butler guy.
Oh, right, not George Alfred. Okay, sorry. Oh, you mean Alfred the butt? Sorry, because Jonathan Harris's character is George Alfred. So
Oh, okay. Maybe Butler wasn't called Alfred then. I got many confused because I
I
see
thought you
butlers.
were
I think they're called Alfred.
okay. Yeah, I just thought you were excusing the lawyer because he's a consultant and not. Is he a member? Maybe he's a member.
He's even if he's not a member, he's complicit.
Yeah, the more I'm
He's a
thinking about it,
class traitor.
yeah, I'm sitting here wondering why you wanted to go along with that guy. Okay, except that Jonathan Harris is awesome. So, but
Maybe he's also a perpetual villain.
well, yeah, but he's one of the best, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, a lot of perpetual villain actors are great guys in real life, but
But I just mean that he's a great villain too. I
yeah.
mean, maybe he could have been a scumbag. I don't know. I haven't heard anything to that effect. So,
Hmm.
and I don't think he was like screaming at Bill Mummy at Lost in Space Set or anything like that. So,
Yeah, but I heard he was really mean to the robot. As we know from Star Wars, that's how you really judge people.
yeah, he just kept kicking it around.
Yeah.
And
He was a total Ray.
on Lost in Space, it was just robot, right?
Oh yeah, I could never I was
Because
it
you want to say Robbie the robot, this Forbidden Planet.
yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe it was just robot.
yeah, because that came up while I was hearing. So it was somewhere recently, but yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that thing didn't have a name. Interesting.
I'm looking it up now in case there was a name that we're forgetting. But
Hmm.
to be honest, I'm only really familiar with the Matt LeBlanc one. The robot model B9, known simply as the robot.
Okay. They could have been a little more creative with that name for sure.
Yeah. Well, there's plenty of the original and plenty of the Netflix one when you look on Google, but you have to scroll down pretty far to see the 90s one, which I
Yeah,
guess is probably for the best.
yeah. Well, I guess we will go ahead and throw this one onto the tripometer then. What do you want to give this on the tripometer?
It's a difficult one, right? Because does this get a really low rating because it's because there's not technically any trip, right? It's real. Or does that mean it gets a really high rating because it is so weird while being in the real world? But I think I'm going to give it a.
I thought you were going to do that before your explanation because you gave a real explanation, right? And then
Hmm,
we had a moment of silence. Who do you want to dedicate that moment of silence to?
Princess Diana.
Okay, sure. Actually, now that you've said that, I read the book because someone sent it to me for review. The so I didn't buy it, but I read the Prince Harry book, and
Oh.
that was going through my mind when I was watching this, because like Tennyson, it's kind of like he's trying to sound like a normal dude, and then suddenly he's like hunting on an island just to get away from it all. It's like yeah, people can't do that, man. I can't just bugger off to Botswana when I'm feeling down. But Yeah, so in that case, and also I did just want to like, since all the press reports are like slapping me in the face, I'm like, well, since someone sent it to me, I'm gonna see what this thing actually says. So,
See, for me, I do not have that instinct of I'm being bombarded by press about the royal family and now I want to seek it out. It's like, leave me alone.
well, that's what I'm saying. That because I had watched this episode, it seemed to like have kind of a entanglement, you know.
Hmm.
So I was kind of interested because I was like, oh, here's kind of a real look into kind of that. I mean, even like a higher echelon frame of that kind of mind. So I was just kind of like, that got my curiosity. These silence guys, they're just city club, rich guys, right? So, but it was interesting to just, okay, I want to read someone who's like completely out of everything, you know. My
Yeah.
parents kicked me out, so I'm gonna move in with Tyler Perry is not like a normal course of action for people. But yeah, so it I don't know. I mean, I guess it just gets to the point that you can be rich or have had success in your life and be perfectly miserable, because people making bets like these and taking them are pretty miserable to start with.
Yep. Well, that's it, because people use it to be like, money can't buy you happiness, right? And that's true from this angle. But money could buy, a lot of poor people some peace of mind and let it possible for them to be happy. So
Oh, that was the other fun thing in that book, by the way, because he keeps saying, and the press kept saying I was a drug addict, and then I took a bunch of drugs. It's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too, dude.
I did see a funny tweet the other day that was like, someone said something about gambling, and then someone else replied something about addiction. And he's like, I've gambled 20 years, and I think about it every day, and I'm not addicted, so I don't think it's going to happen.
So yeah, kind of along those lines. So, but for me, I think when I started the podcast, I started knowing that, okay, the silence will be my zero on the tripometer, but a
Mm.
very lovingly given zero. So, like, I enjoy giving this one a zero.
Well, you give it a 0, and I'll give it a 5, and there we go.
It'll balance out, right? Yeah, 2.5 is like the wrong
Yeah, it's
one for
definitely not.
this.
It's either a 0 or a 5. It's not a 2.5.
Yeah, so I can appreciate it. Okay, so you'll take the 5, I'll take the zero. But yeah, for more than a year, I've been planning
And
to
I'll
give
get to
this one
Scotland before you.
a zero. I've never been to Scotland.
I went there very recently.
Yeah, it's cold in the summer, is it?
It was fine.
Okay, that's cool. Well, I was just, I said on recent episodes, I think of Death Valley is comfortable, but that's because I was there in January.
Well, yeah, I think of Scotland as comfortable because I was there in like September.
Yeah, there we go. I guess I'll wrap things up unless you got another thunker on the thunk.
Oh, I thanked all my thanks.
Okay. This is Time Enough Podcast. You can find us at Time Enough Pod on Twitter or Facebook. You can support us on Patreon at Podcastius, where we do a whole bunch of other podcasting. Luke and I talk sci-fi movies on Luke and Matt's Sci-Fi Sanctuary. I'm having a run of episodes right now about The Prisoner, which is Imprisoned in Prison, an The Prisoner podcast. So, kind of Twilight Zone adjacent, British style Twilight Zoney stuff. Luke, what do you do there?
You can find my podcast about Pokemon. Luke Loves Pokemon. That's like the premier podcast on the account. We're about to hit 50,000 downloads on that one. There's Monster Mash, a podcast about Monster Hunter. That one does okay. You can find out. That's the one I was talking about, where we had some banter about the Scottish. I forgot his name. Who made the Twilight Zone?
Rod Serling. You mean
Yeah,
the
I only hear
cheesesteak?
you say it every single week. And then there's the Game Show, which is the least successful podcast on the network, where four British guys swear at each other. It's really funny, and I think people would like it, but for some reason we have no idea how to find listeners for it. Also, I'm not really putting any effort into that front because I don't really care. I do it for my own amusement.
Radio.
I
So
point
yeah.
we said recently, like, if I just stopped editing them and putting them out, everyone would probably still keep turning up and recording them.
Did you record it this week?
uh,
Maybe.
send out
Just
the vibes.
check. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a good way of sending out your podcast, just through vibes.
Hmm.
You feel my podcast in the air, man.
Just trust me, dude. I'm putting out top quality banter. So just imagine the banter and chuckle at it.
But for now, you don't have to imagine the banter. You can listen to all of that. So, um, I don't know. Tell us something witty to end this one.
Um,
That should do it.
yeah.
I was actually disappointed you had an in there.
No, yeah, please cut the
Yeah, I'll cut the uh, see if
In
I'm
the
still
beginning,
psyched.
there was a sound, and it was
Yeah. And then I started psychedelically flashing. Not psychedelically flashing at the moment. Give it 5 seconds, it'll start.
Mm.
So hopefully this, because yeah, it updated Thursday last week, just this time last week, and that screwed the goose apparently. In a Zoom window. So oh, you have that. Is that app thing?
It's just built into Zoom, but yeah.
Okay. See, mine probably doesn't do that because I have an old fart computer. So that's fun. What are you clicking on for that?
It's where you'd go to put a virtual background on. There's also
Oh,
filters.
oh, I think I don't have that because I'm using a old farty computer, so I can't join the fun. Let's
This is
do
for all the YouTube people who are sitting waiting for you to find the button to stop the recording.
that. Now I'm playing with the back. I don't know how these work for me though. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think I just can't use them on my old as hell computer. So